Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So first of all, how many of you would agree that for an early stage startup, shipping product is way more important than focusing on or developing company culture? How many of you would agree with that? Okay, I only saw like a couple of hands there, so I think I have a very easy job here because I used to think so. I happen to disagree with that statement, so I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes to convince, I guess, 1 or 2 people. Others already believe in me, so it's going to be an easy job. Now I have the laser pointer so I can point you guys. How do I actually advance the slides? Which, oh, this one is the screen, okay. I know I'm not super technical, but okay, awesome, works. So first of all, I think I'm the least likely person to talk about company culture, something as fuzzy and touchy-feely as company culture. I grew up hoping and dreaming that I would get a job where I don't have to talk to any human being. And I am actually not kidding. And once I got my first computer, Commodore 64, I thought this could be the colleague that I worked throughout my career. And then eventually I went and I studied physics. That was my formal training, and it didn't really help. Once I came out of the university, I thought with math, spreadsheets, and maybe MATLAB, you can solve any problem in the world, including managing people and leading people. And I think I pretty much tried that with my first software company that I started in Finland. And the results, or lack of them, probably speak for themselves. It didn't quite work out. So with that, I hope you believe in everything I have to say about company culture. To start, what do I mean by company culture? Well, academics have defined culture in a very fancy way. Different layers. You have on the top, you have behaviors. Below that, you have values. And below that, you have beliefs. But I like to think of company culture in 2 extremely simple terms. 1, culture defines how your employees, what do they do when nobody's watching? So culture defines what your employees do when nobody's watching. And I would say that unless you are building a peanuts packing company, you really don't want to be watching over anyone's shoulder. You want to find the best talent, give direction, and for the most part, get out of their way. So that's one way I think of company culture. Second way is I think of company culture like the body's immune system, but it's the immune system for your organization, protecting it against all kinds of external shocks. And these shocks will happen. Shit will hit the fan whether you want it or not. And one example from my own experience was when we started Trulia, the online real estate marketplace 2005, we certainly didn't think that 2008, the US housing market would go into the worst recession ever. And in a couple of minutes, I'll give you examples how I've actually experienced these 2 things. 1, culture defines what people do when nobody's watching. And 2, how it can be the immune system for your organization against external shocks. But first, I'm going to go through 4 hows. How do you actually go about building company culture? Based on my own experiences. So here's a picture of me graduating from Stanford with my Trulia co-founder partner. And things are pretty much out of control in this picture, and not in a good way. I'm smiling, but the only reason I'm smiling is because when I moved to California, I learned that you actually smile even if someone's pointing a gun on your head, you're shitting into your pants, you have no money, your company's going out of business, and your fiance has just left you. And that's pretty much what was happening to me in this very picture. I had $100,000 of debt from Stanford, barely money to pay next month's rent. I had no visa as an immigrant to start a company in the US. We were working hard to scrape together the first early prototype of Trulia to raise money, but all the investors up until that point had said no, and my fiancée had just left me. So things weren't too good. So the question is, do you actually think of company culture during a moment like this? And I don't think this is very atypical for early stage companies. Pretty much all the time feels that the sky's falling and everything's just not working out. Well, I would hope that you actually think about company culture in moments like this. And in fact, already 2 or 3 months before this picture was taken, when we were just 2 founders, we defined what do we want our company culture to be. We wrote it down. And initially, it was very selfish reasons. We thought, hey, why don't we define what's the environment where we want to work next 10 years? And most of you probably already know that, particularly if you're successful, you will spend more time with your co-founder, with your team, and your company than you end up spending time with your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your dog over the next 10 years. It's pretty crazy, but that is a fact. So we defined the company culture immediately when we were starting. And here's my first how. The biggest insight about company culture that I've learned over the last 8 years is, as a founder, actually you do not have the luxury of deciding whether or when you build company culture. Because day 0, you will have a company culture. The only luxury that you have as a founder is to decide whether you want to guide the culture to the direction you want, or whether you want the culture to just evolve and go wherever it wants to go. But you don't have the luxury to decide whether you build it or not. You will have it. So that's my first how in terms of building company culture. Second how. So once you know what you want your culture to be, how do you actually go about building it? And for most companies that I've visited and founders that I've spoken with, the answer is, oh, we print the culture statements, put it on the wall, hallways and meeting rooms. But I think there's 2 critical things you have to do about anything that you care about your business. 1, measure, and 2, manage. And you can actually apply those 2 things on something as fuzzy as company culture. So very early on, summer 2005, I actually created a simple survey, actually using SurveyMonkey, and sending out every month to every single one of our employees, asking how well do you think we are living up to our culture and what we want our company to be. And then had questions like how much do you like to come to work every morning? So this was the measuring piece. And then the managing piece was, 1, we made all these results public internally, and then 2, whenever something was going south, like you see there's something going down, we immediately created a sort of plan of attack. How do we bring that thing back to where we want it to be? So that's my second how. Whatever is important to you in your business, including culture, if that is important, you have to measure and manage it. And you can. Something as fuzzy, touchy-feely as culture, you can measure and you should. How number 3. So first of all, I wanted to disguise the person with the black box. So some of you may notice that it is the Barbie. You might wonder, at least I wondered, what's the hands-on stuff that you can do to really shape the company culture? And oftentimes I hear, well, you know, we have all these perks. We have good food, we have drinks, we have a massage therapist. That's kind of our company culture. That's how we build it. But I think there's something way more powerful. And the story behind the Barbie is, a few years ago, we decided to launch a new product line, new business for Trulia. And we knew that it's going to be very important for the future success of the company. And so I was building a team for this new initiative, and one of the most important roles, at least at that time, that I wanted to fill was the product leadership role. So the person who's really pushing this initiative forward. And I found this candidate who I thought was just fantastic. She had a computer science degree from MIT, had been a product lead for a leading online travel company. She had started a company herself. She had been a CEO of her own company, software company, online company for 4 years. And I thought she's perfect. But then I got a hunch that she might be pregnant. Don't ask me how I figured that out. And I was asking myself, how can I hire a pregnant woman into a team when the next 12 months is going to be crazy crunch time? And there's no way I can let anyone just go and not work, every day and very hard. And I thought of this for a day or so, and I also realized that one part of our culture, how we define is what we call people matter. And the idea is you come to office, you give 100%, you're very creative, you give 100% of yourself. But also, we want to make sure that people live holistic lives, fulfilling lives, and for many people that means